Well, one thing that I also explain to clients is like commitment. Everybody likes change until it becomes inconvenient. So everybody likes healing. Oh, self-care. Oh, this is beautiful. I'm working on me. But baby, when we start to get to that commitment phase of like how much of this is going to cost me in terms of time, attention, effort, and energy. Okay, how long do I got to keep this up? Oh, you mean
Yeah.
I got to maintain that boundary? Oh, I got to reinforce this? Oh, I got to have multiple conversations with other people as well as myself that may not make me feel like good on the inside. So everybody loves healing and change until it costs you something.
Yeah.
But in the midst of you thinking about what it costs, like what do you gain? Is it worth it? You know?
Yeah.
Is it worth it for you to follow through? And that's something that you have to consider. Staying committed to the journey, staying committed to yourself, staying committed to your growth, staying committed to your wealth legacy, staying committed to that future family. If you don't have kids, staying committed to what this can look like for my partnership. So I think when we're thinking about healing, what is the motivation, both intrinsically and extrinsically, that's going to keep us committed to carrying this thing out.
Welcome in for those that are here so far. We are going to be having a conversation about doing the heart work, and we're going to be talking about focus on grieving, different types of grieving, a couple different types of grieving. So I'm excited about this conversation, Sierra, because I feel like it's a conversation that therapists may have on the background with a lot of clients, but I haven't heard a lot of people talk about the different types of grieving that we're going to be discussing today. So I'm thankful for the opportunity to be able to shed light on it.
No problem. Thank you so much for creating space for me with your audience. I'm
Yes.
always down to have authentic conversations with people. So when you reached out, I was just like, yeah, like this is dope. So thank you so much.
You're so very welcome. You're so very welcome. So my name is Ikeysha Green, and I'm the host of Purpose Grow Heal podcast. And we've been doing these interviews for a little while now, but this is our spring session back. We took the winter off, and so it's all about opening up eyes and minds to different conversations in the mental health space. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us where you're from.
Yeah. Hi everyone. My name is Sierra Hillsman, originally from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, currently living in Atlanta. I'm a licensed professional counselor, certified clinical trauma professional, certified anger management specialist. I got a whole bunch of credentials behind my name, but none of that really matters at the core of it. I'm a healer. I'm a God girl. I love all things mental health and well-being. Some of my specialties include life transitions, identity work, as well as trauma. And so we understand that with the concept of life transitions, not only do we gain things, but we also lose things. And I find that individuals struggle with that component of the grief aspect,
Mhm.
which is why oftentimes like I enjoy having these conversations with not just clients, but other people. I'm just shedding awareness of like the idiosyncrasies or those little things that we overlook or maybe have not encountered or thought about when it comes to our wellness journey. So that's a little bit about me. Oh, founder of Legacy Speaks, which is a training and development organization dedicated to supporting individuals or working professionals who are dealing with career-related stressors. And that's essentially it. I help organizations and employees increase their wellness and well-being in the workplace
Mhm.
so that they can find fulfillment in their careers. Everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, but there are some individuals who thoroughly enjoy their job and just want to have fun, but they might have left the organization due to a stressful boss or a toxic work environment. So we help mitigate some of those things.
Yes, yes, and we are going to dive into each layer that you just that you just presented. Just great platter of things that you do and are. I'm so thankful to have you here. So I want to start off with talking about what made you or urged you feel the need to fill in the mental health space. Where did that begin for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like my career chose me. In 2014, I had two family members who were dealing with some mental health concerns, them primarily stemming from depression. and suicidality. And so when I noticed the impact of like working from paycheck to paycheck and not being cognizant of the symptoms, or not having the resources, or maybe even not having the wherewithal or the language to be able to articulate what you're experiencing, oftentimes, especially us as like within the Black community, there's so many stigmas associated with our mental wellness journeys, but also we just may not have been exposed to that. And so when I realized that this was a problem, I was just like, whoa, we got to change this. So I went and got my master's in clinical mental health counseling, and just to become an advocate. But by the end of the program, I was like, yo, I really want to do this for real. I want to become an actual licensed therapist. And from there, I've worked in so many different settings: partial hospitalization, intensive outpatient, inpatient, residential treatment facilities, private practice, agencies. And so now I'm in private practice full time. So, yeah.
My God, my God, my God, my God, my God. How beautiful that was. And so you had firsthand experience with someone close in your circle that opened up your eyes to what it looks like to be in balance, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's a beautiful thing. You said you just slid right on over the fact that you got your master's. I know it's over and you have it, but congratulations for that.
Thank you.
And
Thank
then because that's
you.
an achievement. That's an achievement. I'm just now starting in on my collegiate career, right? And I'm looking at everything, and it's a commitment. So congratulations
Thank
for
you
that.
so much.
Congratulations, and thank you so much for being in this space. So you talk about being a trauma, specializing in trauma, specializing in grief. One of the main things that I wanted to talk about, of course, general, not, I wouldn't even call it general trauma. When you lose someone, a lot of the times people don't have the understanding of what that process really looks like. And I kind of want to touch on, because this is what I personally firsthand have experience with dealing with this. Can you give something to the people around a person that may have had a loss, the support system? Because a lot of times when someone loses someone, if you're not attached to that person that they lost, or if you have no skin in the game with them, you're not rooted in what their life was about, you may not know how to help someone navigate that. What would be your advice to someone that's sort of outside of course, go to therapy. You got to, right? But in regards to being a support system, what advice would you give a person that's on the outside looking into something, looking to support someone that's going through grief?
Absolutely. So, thank you so much for that question, because that's very intentional. I think oftentimes individuals don't recognize the various ways that we can provide support. And what I let clients know is that there's two forms of social support: one emotional, and the other instrumental. For emotional support, those are individuals that hold space for us. They provide a listening ear. Sometimes they don't even have to say anything. They just like help us with their presence, so to speak. And they're just there to be able to just like literally hold space for us emotionally. On the flip side, we have instrumental support. So these are individuals who help us from a practical and tangible space. These are the ones that will send you DoorDash or Uber Eats when you can't get up to cook a meal. These are the ones who will stop by and pick up the kids and take them to the park if you can't get up to take care of your kids. These are the ones who are gonna like pick you up and to drop you off at work if you are having a hard time financially, or if you're having car problems. These are the ones that really pull through. So if you're asking, how can I support an individual who lost someone? One, ask them directly, what is it that you need in this moment? And if they're unable to answer that question, because we know that with grief, our whole regimen, our whole state of being causes us to shift a little bit, because we're mourning, we're trying to figure things out, we're trying to make meaning of it, we're trying to navigate these spaces. So providing some grace and some patience, because they may not know exactly what they need. So as a friend, as a loved one, as somebody who wants to provide support, you know how, the old folks used to say, see a need, fill a need. And so if
Yeah.
you see something that the person needs without articulating it, you know, try to be comfortable or at least mindful enough to step in that role and to provide some level of support that way.
Hey, lovely. Shout out to you because I know mental and emotional wellness is important to you. If it wasn't, you wouldn't be listening to this podcast. But lean in really quickly because I know sometimes it's really hard to create a plan and actually sticking to it. So let's take your mental health to another level. Ever wonder what keeps you from fully executing? Ever wonder how you can build the confidence for decision making? Well, guess what? You're not alone and I'm here to help. So head over to mentalhealthgoals.com for your free mental health plan. It'll give you practical strategies for addressing your current mental health needs. But first, you got to tap in. So head over to mentalhealthgoals.com to receive your free mental health action plan today. Do it right now. mentalhealthgoals.com. See you soon.
Yeah, yeah, and there's so many things that you can do, and sometimes people feel overwhelmed with the burden of others, going through grief, but it could really be the smallest things. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much for mentioning that. So, in that same aspect, if you came across somebody that had the experience of having no support, or maybe the people around them don't even know how to heal or how to support or what to say about it, and they feel a loss of support, like they feel like they're out here alone.
Mm-hmm.
um, they don't have anything that you just mentioned. They never received any of that, and they just feel like the whole world has been on their shoulders, their back is against the wall. They don't have any support. What would you say to a person like that, so that's trying to kind of get themselves out and dig themselves out of that, maybe they have been grieving for a while and they just really want to come out on top and be above water, but they never had any support and they never had any guidance?
Absolutely. First and foremost, I always encourage clients to start within. Identify what it is that you need in this moment. When we're able to acknowledge our needs first, that gives us the confidence to start figuring out how can I go about getting these needs met through other people. And when we're saying other people, we're talking about like resources, right? Support groups. Group therapy is an alternative, especially if you're not comfortable with individual therapy in this particular moment. But finding specific ways to identify your needs, acknowledge them, and also address them as well. Sometimes, too, when we're processing grief, depending on how you were raised, we like to move past the ability to feel our emotions. So diving back into work, okay? The overworkers, right? Let me just
Mm-hmm.
work this pain away. Let me just like make sure that I keep myself busy so that I don't feel these emotions.
That
That can be
smile through the
problematic.
pain.
Yeah, right. So
Yeah.
learning to sit with your emotions is very important. Learning to get comfortable with this like current stage of your life, because oftentimes we can start getting super busy and avoiding these emotions that are associated with grief. Unaddressed emotions show up in other ways. So even if you keep and delaying this process, recognize that one, you might have an emotional outburst, or it starts manifesting in other behaviors, whether you start lashing out on people, you start to self-blame, you engage in self-sabotaging behaviors, your relationships, your other healthy relationships begin to crumble because you're withdrawing and isolating. So address it in your own time. We understand that grief is not linear. There's always going to be some fluctuations over time, but give yourself space to be able to address it incrementally, because if you don't, then you're going to pay for it eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned those layers. And I mean, it's like the smiling through the pain aspect. And I think that's huge all over the world, right? People try to work their way through it, like you said, make their way through it. I mean, and then you have parents that are teaching their children that that's how you do it,
Mm-hmm.
that that's how you handle a situation. And so, I know firsthand. So,
Can
trying to
I
decipher that. Go ahead.
Oh, like there was something that you mentioned how parents have a way of like creating these scripts or forcing these core beliefs on
Mm-hmm.
people, and immediately I thought about a client. She was having a difficult time, and she kept saying, "Oh, I'm just gonna suck it up. I'm just gonna suck it up." But I was just like, "Girl, even vacuums need to be dumped." So it's like,
Right.
how much more sucking
Right.
are you gonna do? Like at a certain point, you're gonna have to like purge or at least sort through it or dump out whatever it is that you're trying to like hold tight and keep compressed. And granted, even when we're talking about like as a culture, right? We are
Yeah.
very prideful people. We are strong. We're resilient. We do not like allowing people to see ourselves in our like these vulnerable places. And so right now, especially with this generation, especially with us as women, especially us as a community, we're so grateful for what our ancestors have done. We're so grateful for the resiliency of our great grandparents and grandparents and so on and so forth. But now we're learning to put those bags down and begin to sort through it and get the healing that we need.
Can we talk about what that could look like? Because I think that we have a misconceived perception about what healing really looks like. And even me going through my own healing journey, I've come to realize that healing didn't look like what I thought it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot deeper than I thought it would be. Can we talk about what that looks like for different people? Because I know there's probably different forms of healing, and people go through it in different ways. For me, I cried down the wall. I was the cry, I was the drag, I was the that was me. But I know that everyone doesn't take it the same or process it the same. So can we talk about the different ways and what that
Yeah.
may look like?
So, what you just described is like catharsis, right? So, individuals who are crying and emoting and showcasing emotion. Well, we have individuals that are very logical in nature, so they may take time to process their emotions from a practical and tangible perspective. They want to look at the facts. What does this mean?
Yeah.
What does this mean for me? What can this cause in the near future? How can I fix this? And things of that nature. Then you have some people who practice procrastination and avoidance. So
Mm-hmm.
may not even want to address the healing process until there is a prompting for them to be able to do it. Well, one thing that I also explain to clients is like commitment. Everybody likes change until it becomes inconvenient. So everybody likes healing. Oh, self-care. Oh, this is beautiful. I'm working on me. But baby, when we start to get to that commitment phase of like how much of this is going to cost me in terms of time, attention, effort, and energy. Okay, how long do I gotta keep this up? Oh, you mean
Yeah.
I got to maintain that boundary? Oh, I got to reinforce this? Oh, I got to have multiple conversations with other people as well as myself that may not make me feel like good on the inside. So everybody loves healing and change until it costs you something.
Yeah.
But in the midst of you thinking about what it costs, like what do you gain? Is it worth it? You know?
Yeah.
Is it worth it for you to follow through? And that's something that you have to consider. Staying committed to the journey, staying committed to yourself, staying committed to your growth, staying committed to your wealth legacy, staying committed to that future family. If you don't have kids, staying committed to what this can look like for my partnership. So I think when we're thinking about healing, what is the motivation, both intrinsically and extrinsically, that's going to keep us committed to carrying this thing out?
You know, you mentioned staying committed to that family even though you don't have one. I always say I'm not going to the gym for right now. I'm going to the gym for my 10-year anniversary. I'm not even married yet. So I do,
Listen.
you have to utilize that as motivation. But you mentioned something else that was so key when you said that there are different phases of it. And I feel like everything that you mentioned is a possible phase in regards to, like, you have the person that's crying, you have the person that's thinking logically. You kind of have to know where you are and what season that you're in so you can kind of pinpoint that and really lock in on where you are. But I completely agree. You really don't know until you step up to the plate of it. And we live in a microwave society where things have just come at the snap of a finger. We on social media. You can post something one day and go viral the next. So this idea of instant gratification it really doesn't apply to healing. And I feel like sometimes we want it to. We just want it to so bad. We want to be able to wake up the next morning after making the decision to heal, right? Like, okay, now I'm on point. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do in my business. I'm doing everything at work. I'm doing everything on my marketing. I'm doing everything, you know, in my family life. I'm taking care of the children. And it's just, it can become that at different times. And I think we have to allow ourselves space to really absorb what the process really takes. That's what I found.
Yep.
And so I'm right with you.
Exactly.
I'm right with you. I'm right with you on that.
This year has been a whirlwind, hasn't it? And I'm pretty sure that you and your business have had to make a number of changes as a result of the pandemic. But I need you to get really present right now. Let's tap into the here and now in this very moment. When was the last time you truly checked in on your team? As a matter of fact, when was the last time that you truly thought about how you and your team are mentally and emotionally navigating through all of the adjustments that are taking place? But guess what? I'm here to help with that. Hi, my name is Sierra Hillsman, and I'm a licensed professional counselor and certified clinical trauma professional. I work with small businesses and corporations by helping their teams explore their presenting concerns. That way we can increase employee engagement and improve productivity overall. This can be done through in-person or online lunch and learn events, corporate workshops, and organizational seminars. Click the link below. That way you can start to learn how to truly invest in the overall mental and emotional wellness of your team. Hey y'all, it's Sierra. Make sure you head over to shoplegacysbks.com to check out the latest gear. As always, we have the Classic Therapy is Dope crew neck as well as tees. So head over to cop your crew neck today. It comes in heather navy, that cardinal red, as well as that beautiful gold that we love to see. So head over to purchase yours, not only for yourself, but also for a friend as well. And we are offering free shipping right now. So head over to shoplegacysbks.com to cop all of your Therapy's Dope gear and check out all the other additional merch as well.
I want to also talk about grief in regards to grieving a past self. Not past self in regards to like in the spiritual sense that people say, oh, I lived a life before of this and that. I'm talking about within your life that you're living right now today.
Yeah.
Grieving something, a persona that you had to utilize for survival mode.
Yeah.
And what that really looks like, and realizing that, because I don't think a lot of people realize that you may be going through grief and you think that you're going through anxiety, or you may be going through grief and you think that you're just stagnant or whatever the case. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah,
what that looks like?
Absolutely. When we are in this place of transition, we understand that we have to become a particular person in order to walk into our next, right? Whether it's a new job or a new relationship or maybe even a new home, whatever the case may be, whatever you're transitioning into, there's some skills, talents, and capabilities, as well as like a new perspective that needs to be acquired and adopted in order for you to transition your next. And that also includes shedding the old self. And we understand the old self, like you mentioned, core beliefs, approaches to handling solutions, you know, for those individuals who are very witty and will pop off in a second, and they would do that as a way to, one, to create a defense mechanism, but also to avoid that whole back and forth. That's the way that they might have handled their problems, or whatever your old self looks like. I always encourage people to like Marie Kondo it. So sitting down with that self and identifying, how did this serve you during those previous seasons of your life? Making peace with the fact that this version of yourself cannot go into your next, because if it does, it could potentially hinder future opportunities, and opportunities that are literally staring you right in the face. And then also showing gratitude for that version of yourself, because that version of yourself helps you to get you where you currently are at. Oftentimes when we think about shedding the old behaviors, we start to have some level of regret or maybe resentment or self-blame or beat ourselves up for engaging in that type of behavior. And granted, we understand that what we were doing at that time, it worked for that season of our lives, but also show gratitude for the fact that some of those behaviors helped you to get you where you are. And it also provides a springboard for you into your next. So I always encourage people to, one, identify it, make peace with it, show gratitude, but also say, hey, you know what, I can't take you, this version of myself, into this season, and that's okay. That's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And that's okay. That's okay, y'all. That is okay. I got to say that again. That's okay. It's okay, because when that process starts to happen and you start to unveil yourself, I feel like it's kind of like a shedding of skin, right? So you unveiling yourself, you're shedding the skin, and you come out and you realizing, like you said, you don't need to pop off at the mouth no more. You don't need the quick-witted snapbacks anymore, because that was all a defense mechanism. And sometimes it takes a long road to get to that point. Like, even realizing that that's what was going on is a long road sometimes. And so when you finally get to that point and you're at this stage and you're feeling like, okay, I realize I don't need some of these things, you start to realize, wow, I was utilizing a lot of stuff that I did not need. And that's
Mm.
not going to benefit me, like you said, for the next level. It's not going to benefit me for this next evolutionary place that I'm going to. So what advice would you give somebody that has done that, right? They're in this space, they realize they don't need those things, but you're still going to come across situations and circumstances that might make you feel that you have to be at a defense. You may not put yourself in those situations, but the world isn't perfect and it is what it is, right? So
Yeah.
you may cross paths with someone, and or even in a workspace or somewhere at a conference where you meet someone, and all of a sudden something is said or something is done where, I mean, does that wall just go back up? What is the process of that, and how should that be navigated? What would you say?
When you said advice, I was like, girl, I do not give advice. I just provide suggestions.
Well,
I know
insight,
it's all
insight. Let's look in. We're the flies on the
no,
wall,
it's
and
all
we
good.
giving
Yeah.
insight.
Um,
Amen.
so, when those situations occur, I always encourage individuals to utilize a skill called STOP. So STOP is an acronym for individuals or any other clinicians who are currently watching this. They know that it's from DBT. So DBT is dialectical behavior therapy. And so essentially STOP stands for, S is for stop, T is for take a step back and take a deep breath, O is observe, and P is to proceed mindfully. And when we're talking about change, we were referencing, okay, if you're going to commit to change, make sure that you're carrying that thing out. So when we're changing, that also looks like reframing our perspective, filtering through our thoughts, replacing our thoughts with something that is more positive and solution focused, leveraging our strengths in those situations, identifying what's in your control and not in your control. So those are some quick things, but going back to the concept of like stop, literally physically on and mentally and emotionally stop what you're doing. That gives you an opportunity to increase mindfulness and bring yourself fully in the present. Oftentimes when we are approached by a threat, we start to think about, okay, what are some tools in our arsenals? How can I quickly defend myself? We start to try to mind read and second guess the other person's response and reaction time and things of that nature. First and foremost, your thoughts are enough within itself. You trying to read somebody else's thoughts in that moment, that's a whole lot of work and that's a whole lot of pressure. So just take a moment, stop, bring yourself into that moment and increase mindfulness. Then T, take a step back. The reason why we take a step back is because we widen up the scope. During moments of distress, we often look at things like a microscope where we're zooming in and only looking at the problem or the perceived problem at hand. So we take a step back because when we look at art, we don't look at art like with our nose against a piece of art. We look at art to see it from a wider perspective, a wider view. And we take a deep breath to help regulate our emotions in that moment. So when you're cycling a full breath in through your nose, out through your mouth, that helps with regulating or tapping into that central nervous system. And it also slows down that fight, flight, or freeze response, especially when we're talking about stressors, right? So take a step back and take a deep breath, and then observe. When you're widening the scope, that gives you an opportunity to be able to gather enough information about the situation at hand, the sets of circumstances that are taking place, what's going on around you, what's going on internally, what is coming up for me in this moment. Does this remind me of a former coworker? Does this response remind me of a former supervisor? Does this remind me of a friend that ditched me when I was in college? Like, where are these emotions coming from for you? So observing not only externally, but also internally. And then once we gather that data, we filter through it and we proceed mindfully, which is P. We make an informed decision, not just based on emotions, but also from a place of logic as well. We want to acknowledge our emotions. We want to acknowledge how we feel in this moment. We want to acknowledge what's coming up for us. However, we don't want to be consumed by our emotions. We want to make informed decisions that also include the practical, tangible facts as well.
Yes. I love everything about that. Stop. But it's really everything that you described sounds like a slow motion way of processing things, not just trying to be quick. And that can be kind of tricky when your quick-wittedness has always been the go-to for the defense mechanism, right? So you got to remind yourself, okay, this is going to be a process. Where am I at right now? And catch that tongue, because that tongue is what's going to bring you right back to that's going to bring you right back to how you used to do things. It's going to bring you right back to how you used to handle it in order to really continue in your evolution walk, right? You got to slow
Absolutely. And then,
down.
and even with that, right? Learning to gamify things. I think sometimes we have a tendency of taking a lot of life like way too seriously. So even when you want to like bounce back, take a moment to one, identify whether or not this is worth your time, right? Not everything deserve your word. Like be intentional with your words. Does everything need your attention? Does everything need a response? Because the transformation is in the exchange. If you always feel like you have to defend yourself, how much of your energy are you giving to something that won't even matter 5 years from now? So being intentional with that. But then also the other thing that I was considering as well with gamification, if you find yourself like being a cursor, or maybe even somebody who's like always like going back and forth with people, gamifying in a way of like, how long can I go without cursing this person out? Or how long can I go or what is a way that I could reframe the way that I have to say this particular thing? Like, just figure out ways to make it fun for you, because healing is fun. I don't think a lot of people recognize that. It's just like, yes, of course, the hard work is very hard, but we can also make it fun for us too.
And it kind of sounds like when you describe that, that's like a transferable skill. Like maybe it was a challenge for you to pop back and snap, beforehand, but now you're using that as a challenge to slow down and see how long can you really go without popping off and doing those things. So utilizing that, there are some good things that you might be able to take from it and transition them in a way that can still work for you, right? That's
Absolutely.
beautiful. And that's beautiful. It's beautiful to consider, because you can feel like at sometimes that, okay, my back is up against the wall. This thing is so brand new. I don't even know how to navigate it. So then you isolate and you don't want to be around people at all. Yeah. No people ever,
Yeah.
But you can't do that. That's not reality. It's not a loving way to live. And it's not an abundant way to live. Your life will be full without crossing paths with people, right? Yeah. So learning how to navigate the space in the newness is really what you want to do. You want to kind of like balance that out. That's beautiful. That's so beautiful.
I love the way you said that. That's not a loving way to live, and that's not an abundant way to live. That is so true. Yeah.
It's not, because it doesn't add anything to you. When you think of abundance, you think of adding, right? So if you're
Yeah.
just by yourself all the time, you just in your house by yourself all the time, yeah, you could be where you are and stay where you are, but are you growing?
Mm-hmm.
Are you continuing to learn? You know, is your mind, you know, your wheels turning in that mind to where you can open up to what you really have coming for you? You won't, if you're not experiencing new things and continuing to grow. And it's not just to say, let me go do something new, let me go do something new, let me go take this, because that's another thing too. People take all these certifications and courses to fill a void too. That's another angle of
Yeah.
it. But if you're just doing that in emptiness, then you're really not being fulfilled. But if you're slowing down and you're saying, okay, how can I navigate how I live now, and and separate myself from what I used to do and slowly integrate into this thing. But it takes time. It takes time. It takes time. It takes to stop. It takes patience. It takes being present. When you said that stop example of stop, it also sounded like you have to be aware. You know,
Absolutely.
being aware is the core of that. Like, okay, I need to be present in this moment and check in on me and see what's actually going on here, instead of trying to figure it out on the cuff, or, you know, and that takes time, and that takes time, but it's
Absolutely.
necessary. It's necessary. Hey, everybody in the chat, thank you for being here too. Can you give us a little bit more insight on Sierra Hillsman, Legacy Speaks? Let us know what Legacy Speaks is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi everyone, especially if you're just joining in. My name is Sierra Hillsman. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I'm licensed in the states of Georgia and Maryland. I'm also a certified clinical trauma professional, a certified anger management specialist, all that jazz. And so I'm the founder of Legacy Speaks, which is a training and development organization dedicated to increasing emotional wellness within the workplace. And so what I do is I work with employees and their organizations to help them with addressing career-related stressor. Oftentimes, a lot of organizations are really like focused on productivity and things of that nature, and they don't know the hearts of their employees. They're stressed out because they're trying to manage their projects. They're also probably some parents or maybe even partners, or dealing with like boundary related issues and things of that nature. And so I help train and develop not only the leaders, but also the lay people who are on the ground and doing the work. And so even though I'm a licensed therapist, I'm a teacher at heart. That's why I thoroughly enjoy these conversations, because I just enjoy explaining large concepts, and I break them down to a place where it's digestible for people. I have a YouTube channel called Legacy Speaks. That's literally how the platform started, taking what I was learning in grad school and just like sharing that information. We understand, like you mentioned, not everybody can afford to go to pursue their master's or maybe even their undergraduate degree, or maybe even consistently do certifications, but at least I can do my part to help equip my communities with the information so that they can know what to do. I also have a podcast called Legacy Speaks Podcast, which has conversations with fellow clinicians of color, as well as entrepreneurs and other individuals and creatives who thoroughly enjoy mental health. I think this year I've expanded the capacity where we are starting to have conversations with individuals who are mental health advocates and those who thoroughly champion this sense of wellness and well-being. And the reason why that's so important is because we understand that healers come in all shapes, forms, and sizes, and everybody's story is so important. So that's really essentially it. If you want to connect, you can always go to at Legacy SPKS on everything. That's YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can also head over to legacyspks.com, S as in Sierra, P as in Patrice, K and S. So it's like speaks without the E and A. Okay. And that's really it. But yeah, thank you for that.
Of course, and thank you so much for being here with us today. I'm so passionate about this, and I'm so glad that we're back up and running with the schedule and everything. But being able to have these conversations with you all that do work so diligently in the mental health space is like a breath of fresh air. And I thank you so much for everything that you're doing in the mental health space, for every vision that you're putting forth.
Mm.
I'm thankful, and I'm grateful that you are standing strong in your purpose,
Thank
most of
you.
all, right? And being that anchor for those of us. And you said you're in Atlanta area right now, right?
Yes, yes. I live
All
in
right.
the Metro Atlanta area, so if you are looking for a clinician, feel free to holla, shoot me an email. Please don't DM me. I suck at keeping up with social media. I know y'all might see these posts consistently, but most of them are scheduled. All right, y'all. So please just shoot me an email.
Right. That scheduled posting is a gem,
Yeah.
okay? That is a gem.
Okay.
Yeah. So we thank you so much. Make sure if you're in on the East Coast, you're in the Atlanta area, that you reach out to Sierra Hillsman. She is a gem to the mental health space. I thank you so much for being here today again. And you can follow her at Legacy Speaks. Look out for her on YouTube on Legacy Speaks, the podcast Legacy Speaks, just Legacy Speaks. Okay, speak to your
Oh,
legacy. How about that?
amen. Amen. Thank you so
Amen.
much once again. I truly appreciate it.
You're so welcome. This has been Doing the Hard Work with Purpose Grow Health podcast. Thank you for being here with us today, and we will catch you guys on the next one. Make sure you stand in your purpose, always grow, and make sure you continue to heal. See y'all next time. Bye bye.